Welcome, everyone, to episode 224 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentalaresco. I write stuff and podcast too. Today, my guest is Liz Westbrook-Trenholm. The other half, I'm sure Hayden would say the better half of the dynamic duo of the Trenholm family. I got to talk to Liz right before she won the Aurora Award. And VCon was definitely a great con for me in terms of that moment where I won. But the moment I remember the absolute most, not me winning, was Liz winning. The smile, the tears, the joy on her face, because it was her first award too. I will never forget that as long as I live. That was definitely a very cool moment, and I was happy to be a part of it. And Liz probably had the hardest category to vote for. There were some great stories in her category. Fonda Lee was there. Calvin Jim was in there. There's just amazing stuff in that particular category. And the fact that she came away with the win, wow, kudos to Liz. She's an incredibly gifted writer. But she's an amazing woman. Just all the way around, she's an amazing woman. And it was a pleasure to have her on the show. Liz, listening to this, I'm going to say at the end, you are welcome back anytime you want. You were awesome, and I loved chatting with you. I kind of want to say this. Last Thursday, I get a message from Mackenzie. It's like, hey, what do you think of this? And she shows me probably the coolest Cheshire cat I've ever seen in my life. Holy crap. Alice Zero is just about done. I'll have any details real soon about that. But for now, let's get to that conversation, shall we? Anyway, the recorder's now on.
Okay, good.
So you got anything incriminating you'd like to say? Make it good.
Okay. Well, you said, we were saying when you turn the recorder on, I'm absolutely delighted to be nominated for the first time ever for an Aurora for a short story that was so incredibly close to my heart. My mother was ill and dying, and before that, still, right up to the last few months, tried to be useful and helpful and valued in the world. And I watched the world pass her by and underestimate what she could do. And so the story that I wrote talks about that issue, which really concerns me, and that is the way our society warehouses and shuns aside people that they perceive as irrelevant or not useful or not pretty. And in her case, it was her age. Some people, it's their weight. It's an injustice that I hate, and I was glad this story could look at that.
It's interesting. So there's two ways I kind of look at that. So I've moved around an incredible lot. So I have I see the world very broadly because I just moved so much and I've seen so much as a result. I don't look at the same preconceptions like a lot of. I don't have them because I never grew up with them. I grew around them, right? So I kind of broke all the rules to begin with. But there's people that I found that people tried to shun or what's the term? Like I just say, there's for whatever reason don't see the value in people.
Yeah, they just ignore them.
What I have found, what I've found with that is there's this cartoon like Chuck Jones cartoon, this straight line trying to impress this other straight line, and she was not interested in him, so he curves himself. Right, he made himself curvy and wavy, and suddenly he became more dynamic, more personable. And he found that when he got to the other side, that this girl he was chasing was not what he wanted at all. Right? He was not right. What I find with a lot of people, right, use is a very it doesn't even compare. What I often find is everybody has a story, and not only does everybody have a story, everybody has something they can bring to the table. It's the real question with people is what are they willing to bring to the table? And what a lot of people tend to judge, right, is usually
a lot of judgment in the world.
Where a lot of people tend to judge is usually the wrong thing. It's like
that's a perfectly good term.
Yeah, and what they see, right, is very often not what actually is. I'll give you a good example. If Spider Robinson met him for the first time yesterday, I had oh my god, wow, cool. But from the outside looking in, he's an old dude with a guitar. But if you actually get a real chance to talk with him and watch him sing and perform, you actually give yourself that opportunity. Usually this is a dude that has seen a lifetime, has done a lot of things, is still doing a lot, still performing, is still doing a lot of incredible things, right? It's like a lot of people dismiss, and honestly, it's because they're foolish. And I mean, right? Maybe the world taught them this. Maybe it's a malfunction. But the truth,
social construct, as you say, the West that really values youth and the youth culture, whereas other societies, I'm given to understand, value age and have huge respect for the elderly and what they have.
We have kind of an interesting divide today. So on the one hand, this is kind of I almost feel like in some ways right now what's being constructed in the West is a young versus old dynamic, because younger people, because the opportunities that were there when, even like me compared to what's coming up, right? I had more opportunities in certain ways than what's coming up, and they're hungry, and some of them are really, really hungry for it. And you can see their struggle to get out there, get recognized, get noticed, right? And you can understand it. They're hungry, and that's great. On the flip side, the people that are older, well, they've worked their ass off to get what they have. They want to keep it, right? And so I feel today, because of how Western culture is evolving. I don't know if evolve is actually the correct word on this. I would actually mean more like fragmenting. I think is actually a better word.
Well, currently there are a lot of stressors and the Kavanaugh.
Well,
situation in the South, the emerging angry male, angry white male.
And again, but if you look, but what you're
politics.
But what you're looking at, what I'm saying is, you look at that, it's almost like it's being constructed, right? And I'm not sure where I kind of almost feel like. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like what's going on. It's like it's almost like there's almost things are painted certain ways.
Are you talking about the media?
Yeah, I'm talking about the media. Like they're painted certain ways. So what happens is, like I look at the Kavanaugh situation, partly, right? At the beginning, until he actually went on the stand, I was like, it's a little who you are now. And who you were in high school are two very right.
Yeah, it turns out that maybe that's not really the case. He might just be better at covering.
Until he went on the stand, I understood that thinking a little bit. Is not that what hadn't happened was wrong, but just the fact that it's really hard to look at somebody 20 years from now, and if they have learned and grown and evolved. Does that make sense?
It makes sense in terms of everybody makes mistakes and does really stupid stuff when they're young, because we're all really stupid and finding stuff out when we're young, and we do things we really nobody finds out about. Who doesn't have something?
Yeah.
And the trouble is that then what was happening there is that the perception of Kavanaugh and people in his ilk is that they haven't really changed, and their attitudes haven't really changed. And that wasn't a one-off. That was an example of behavior that they thought was okay.
Yeah.
And it's an entirely different thing. His personality remains.
When he took the stand, I was like. He has
no apology.
No.
He thinks he's right. What's wrong? What do you think? Why are they thinking that?
Well,
there's a sociologist, an article who talks about that, about the privileged white male always being insecure about the guy who did that one step better, and if they're in if they're not. The full professor who is jealous because some other compatriots some other colleagues are in Harvard and Yale, or teaching at Harvard and Yale, or Princeton. And the people in Harvard and Yale and Princeton upset because they're not the ones who got the Nobel Prize, and so on and so forth. There's always something that you don't have in your friend. It's just so amazing.
Hunger is good. Like a little hunger always is a good thing. But when it's like that, it's like, But like, I looked at that and I saw what was going on, and I see what's going on down there, and I'm like, I'm glad I don't live there. I'm sad I'm next door.
I don't go there. Let's talk about writing, because I think
it's okay. We talk about whatever you like.
Because I think one of the great joys of my life, and it sort of ties into the idea of being marginalized for whatever reasons, age and so forth. I've always loved to write about anything I came across in order to embed myself into the topic thoroughly enough to understand, insofar as I'm able. With physics, it can be quite amusing watching me struggle, but I do really try. And it gave me a great deal of pleasure to develop a career starting at age 50 in the federal civil service. And 13 years later, I have an index pension to subsidize my other savings, so that I can now afford to write.
Yeah.
And I get to write now about all the experiences I encounter and all the human beings I get to meet, I get to understand.
Yeah.
And so writing is really important to me. Words and story are huge for examining the intricacies of human nature and the subtleties that underlie the issues. Mm-hmm. So we seem to have started talking about the big issues that are facing us now. But to me, what I always like, that meme that was going around, if you were in one of my stories, you would be, and if your character in my story would be just an ordinary person trying to make it while the world was, burning down around you. And that's what I like to say, well, each of us is mostly an ordinary person living in extraordinary times, and we have to deal as we can.
I said this to my dad when I visited him like about a week ago. We all have to be Renaissance people today.
Oh, yes.
Because we are in an age now. Oh, okay, my favorite part about my current age, I can learn how to figure out to do anything today. Like anything, absolutely anything I want to. I can approach it now like, this is no longer an obstacle to get in my way. This is a problem.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity, one, or a problem to be solved, two. Yes. One or the other, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, for example, I was struggling how to record interviews on Skype. So you know what I did? I taught myself more sound engineering so I could do a better job at it, right? I could solve a problem because for me, like what's happening for me this year, I've become a little bit more well-known as a podcaster, so I have to get better at it. It's just that's a good hunger, right? Yeah. To get better, right? And so for me, I find like today, like, and this is the cool thing about when I interview people, everybody I meet and I come across, almost every single one of them is somebody that has a multitude of skills, right? And they keep learning, keep growing. I mean, I applaud you. I mean, you're still learning, you're still tackling physics, you're tackling engineering, which I mean, if you're tackling
physics. I know, the job was with the science department, and I, with an energy, science department, Office of Energy Efficiency, I had to figure out how different equipment worked, and I have an honors degree in English. I mean, no background. But if you can read, you can learn.
Well, if you can read and you can count, there isn't a problem you can't solve. Yeah. That's it. That's really what it comes down to, right?
Maybe the origin of the universe is still a struggle. But anyway, yeah.
I just say 42. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, that's the reason, isn't it? That's did it just fall off? Anyway, don't worry about that.
Yeah. So she's super proud of her Aurora pen, and she should be. She worked very hard to get there.
I have. And I really appreciate it. And I also like what Clint Budd said about it being part of making you part of a community. Yeah. Because we're all in it together, and we're all exploring our ideas together.
Absolutely. No, we are. It's interesting. We're in a world today that, for all of its attempts to, I kind of feel like, again, especially when you look at the states, you see it's very obvious. There's almost like a deliberate divide and conquer strategy being played out.
There's no question.
It's very deliberate in terms of what it's being done. But I think what's really interesting today is I'm looking at like how the writing communities here are kind of work, because I have this unique window into this, and it's like almost everybody on some level, whether they realize it or not, is working together. I don't think the depth of that is fully appreciated, because again, you're in your own trenches, you're doing your own thing, and it's really easy to get lost in those details. But okay, Hayden has a press. He's encouraging new writers to go off to other things, who actually now encourage other people to do their own thing, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that is such a really, really, really cool thing. All right, and you're the same thing. You help mentor him. You probably keep him somewhat like balanced
together.
Yeah, you keep each other somewhat balanced in the equation. He makes you push you to be better, and you push him to be better, and then you inspire other people as well. Right, people that you've touched, and then they in turn inspire others. It's almost like like a tree, and you look at the tree. There's all kinds of branches, and they tie up, and really.
Absolutely, it's community and creating community and being part of a community is a really major and important thing, and it's how I think Hayden himself was saying, to accomplish change we do. I forget the term he used, but we had to work together. We have to organize. We have to no one person, even Bill Gates, billionaires, can do it alone. We all have to work together to accomplish things.
So for me, big thing for me last year compared to this year, so I have teeth now. Hooray!
Yes,
but it's not that, and
that was a big thing.
It was
something to you a lot.
Yeah, it was me looking at my own past, but also the biggest lesson I learned with that is one of the reasons the teeth got damaged as much as they did was because I was trying to take on everything on my own at that time in my life, and I learned you can't do it. Like no matter how capable, how strong, how tough you are, life is bigger, meaner, stronger, tougher.
Isn't it hard to ask for help?
It is.
It's much easier to give help than to ask for it.
Well, that's the thing. When you get humbled, it becomes very easy to ask for help, because at that point you just realize it's a pride thing. Actually, for me, it's just now. It's not so much a pride thing. I don't think of it. I try to solve. For me, it comes from the fact is, I believe I can solve my own problems, and I think it's a healthy thing I have that in there. But sometimes, because of that, it doesn't occur to me
to seek assistance.
It doesn't. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and I really think that we all need to take responsibility for our own actions and our own and do our best to solve our problems, but at the same time be willing to work with others to help. And to rely on others for advice and guidance and so forth in order to get the best solution to a problem. When you're working in groups, focus on the problem and not each other. That's another thing that I certainly was aware of throughout my life. It became very apparent when I was working in government and working on creating an agreement where a lot of industrial competitors were being asked to cooperate with each other, and quickly learned that you don't get, they'll yell at each other and make accusations, but if you all say, yeah, how do we get to this, a solution to this, and everybody focuses in on a core problem, then you don't work each other, you work the problem.
Absolutely, and when you get to that point, it's amazing what you can solve. I think the biggest thing about today, I don't think people realize how powerful they actually are. And I mean, I don't mean like in a Herculean Superman kind of thing. I just mean, okay, I was thinking about this today. Do you know how you could very easily just change how it's going on in the States right now? What if everybody just shut him up on Twitter?
Twitter.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it sounds incredibly simple, but a lot of his power comes from the fact that he plays the media. Mm-hmm. So you take away that base, what can he actually do?
I don't know what that's all about. I really don't. I think it's people so concerned about belonging to, being partisan that they are no longer thinking about what is best.
Absolutely.
For their fellow man and for their citizens. I don't understand. I don't understand what those pressures are, but they're extraordinary, and I'm so glad I'm not part of that country.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, the only I'm not. This will be the last time I go there, I promise. It just amazes me. Like, there are just some simple things a lot of people could do, and you can literally change your life by making one or two decisions, and suddenly it changes your whole course.
Life is so complicated, but I suppose.
Let me give you an example. Let's just at some point you decided you were going to learn physics for your job. You decided you were going to go for.
I didn't need physics for the job. I needed quite simple, like mechanical and things that.
Yeah. But
physics for my writing, understanding cosmology.
Yeah.
It's a good excuse. I mean, research is my
passion.
Kryptonite. I love research. I'd rather do research than writing. I'll do anything. And then the writing starts, and then at last I get to explore.
Okay. As complicated as a lot of pressures and valves are, right? At some point, you made the decision that I'm going to do it. It's a simple decision. It wasn't easy to get to. A lot of people confuse simplicity with ease. It's not. They're not the same thing at all. But at some point, you made a decision. I'm going to do this. And then every decision you made, every research you did, every action you took from that decision germinated to what happened now.
And in fact, I had an insatiable curiosity, so it wasn't hard to start. It was hard to keep going as I floundered into more and more complex things where I lacked the mathematics and conceptual training to be able to understand what was being said. But I was able to suss it out well enough for fiction, close enough for Canada, as they say.
And you kept going, which is a compliment to you.
I suppose, because to me that's my drive isn't I'm accomplishing things. My drive is that's the side. Anything I accomplish is almost the side product of having tried, being busy chasing some other dream. And there it all is, and I look up and go, oh, I did do all that.
So discovery for you, it's discovery.
Love discovery.
Yeah. So for you, it's discovery. It's seeking out. Your world you seek to find whatever the parameters of your world actually is, and then every so often you go like this. Hope.
I want to understand.
Yeah.
I want to understand, and I want to understand how everybody works. I want to understand when you put ordinary people that we see all around us into extraordinary situations, how will they cope? Where will they find their courage? Because people are heroes in spite of themselves, and I think I like to do that. I like to show that. So,
and honestly, that's who you really are. That's when like what you're made of is when the chips are down, and that's when it's like, okay, how tough are you really? How strong are you really? How brave are you really?
And then we have to be patient for those who just can't find it in themselves,
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard. I'm just saying this. And I acknowledge this is a flaw I have. Right? It's hard. It's hard because it's.
Be kind. Yeah.
Being kind is easy. I think for me the hard part is when someone doesn't have the courage yet because they're ready. That is totally forgivable. But when someone doesn't have the courage because they feed off this, they're familiar with the problem. They're afraid of the solution. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to measure, right? Right, the first time.
What's can you think of? I can hear your generalization.
I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, you were born with a disease. Now, this disease, if you take care of yourself, right, you don't let it get in the way of you overcome everything. You have to take care of yourself, but you can do that. But suddenly you don't take care of yourself, but you just cry out that you're in pain all the time. That's what I mean by that, right? Right? There are people, and there are some people who it's like, okay, you have this fear of flying, right? Let's say you have just a scary fear of flying. And you're like, okay, I'm just terrified of this. And you try, like you're trying, but you're not ready to take that step. That's a lot more forgivable because that's just you. When you face your fears, like you're absolutely terrifies you. That is like literally like those are the hardest battles of all.
Joshua, for me, it's heights.
Yeah.
And we climbed to the top of St. Paul's Cathedral. It's one way. Once you commit to going up, you're not allowed to turn around. And I was determined to see.
Yeah.
And by the time we went up the staircase where you could see right down the full...
Holy shit, right?
Yeah, yes, precisely.
Yeah.
That sums it up. And then getting up to the top, and I'm hyperventilating because there's all that terror that goes with being afraid of heights. And so I'd plant myself in a position, get stable, and then I'd look around and say, wow, this is really beautiful. And then I'd move, and I did it, you know? And I was glad because I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, it wasn't overcoming the fear, but
controlling
getting
it.
to do something and having to control it. I wanted to do that thing. So the fear schmear, you can come if you get so excited about achieving something, you get past the hurdle and then realize, hey, I just got past the hurdle I used to think was a big deal.
And like I said, I'm not, and by the way, people that struggle to try to overcome that hurdle, I never ever belittle that. It's ever. It's
You're still hyperventilating at times.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Hey,
to your hyperventilation.
If the day I say I'm never afraid, I'm a liar.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. A day I say that I'm a liar. It's when, like I said,
it's what you do with that.
It's what you do with it, and also again, are you comfortable? If you're comfortable playing the victim, I don't have sympathy for you. It's hard, right? But if you're trying, if you're going for whatever it is you're going for, I have nothing but patience for you.
I wonder, and it's it's a generational thing. I'm kind of proud of the current generation for coming out and talking about how rotten they feel about certain things in their lives, or about the things they perceive as injustice to themselves. Because my generation, we had to get up and go do, and you weren't supposed to complain. You were supposed to say, mustn't grumble. And I think it's... Yes, sometimes I feel impatient with people who keep talking about how hard things are for them. And I think you have a roof over your head, you have a regular income, you have a manageable disability, and I happen to be related to somebody who doesn't, and I happen to be related, be very, very conscious of people who are insurmountably ill, and their problems are worse.
Yeah.
But to say there's somebody worse off than me is one way my generation copes. And I think the current generation says, well, no, my problems matter. So I'm sorry there are people worse off than me. My problems matter, and I darn well want something done about it. And I don't always relate, but I do recognize that that's something.
I do feel
it's real.
Yeah, no, it's not only is it. I do feel that goes with what I'm saying though, but that fear of heights and facing that fear, right? There are people like I remember Lori Zotman, she talked about her depression openly, and it's really gut-wrenching, heartbreaking stuff sometimes. It also makes you laugh because it's her uttermost human, right? At the same token, and I have great respect for that. That because again, she's trying and she's doing something about it, right? And I can see that, right? And so that I have nothing but patience for.
Yeah, I made the mistake. There was a person who was upset and feeling betrayed and angry about an issue she was having, and bad relationships. And I said to her, I said how awful it was, and I said, when I was going through similar things, my writing was my savior. It saved me. And she got angry at me and said, can't I go to my friends and ask for comfort and support? And I was completely flummoxed because it isn't at all what I said.
Yes.
Of course she can. Of course she should. But you can spin, you can make lemonade with those lemons. You can write stories that knock the pants off people because you're coming from the inside of an experience that can just make people say, yes, I know what that feels like. And that's her power.
Yeah.
And I tried to say to her, that's your power. And it wasn't well received.
Yes.
But I may not have expressed it very well, so I just said, no, sorry, of course you should. You know?
Sometimes you say the right thing at the wrong time, but sometimes you do. And
is it true? Is it timely? And will it lead to a good outcome?
Yes.
Always ask.
I'm not perfect. We'll just leave it at that. But honestly, it sounds like you've had a hell of a life. You've had a hell of a life, and it sounds to me like it's still going.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this to Hayden. He seems a lot happier, but I would actually go as far as to say you do too.
Yeah. Oh, of course we are. We are much happier with each other. I certainly am. Though, there's no question. I adored raising my children. I love my children. That was one of the best jobs I ever did. And my career was a struggle, but I was very, very proud of achieving it as somebody who'd been writing and volunteering and stuff. But I've been out of the workforce for many years, and to go in and work my way up through that hierarchy successfully was extremely gratifying to me. And also snooted the naysayers in my past, And you don't mind that.
No. It gets even better. Like when you actually, the best thing is when you take a naysayer and you completely silence them. It's fantastic. I've done it a few times. I'm not gonna lie. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I do it again in a heartbeat. Right? So. But
they are.
Yeah, well, exactly. And so I don't actually know. I know you do a lot of short stories. This is forgive my ignorance for this. Do you have any novels at this point?
I don't write novels. I'm having got back into it this late in life. A novel will take 2 to 3 years to come out. I don't have time.
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
And I actually adore the short story construct, distilling a huge thing into the droplet of a short story. The perfect moment, the perfect character, always struggling to find that moment that is the pivotal one, that shows the whole shift in a world or a person's life, or and I used to say that I wrote novels in short story form,
And by the way, it's great. My favorite short story writer of all time for me is Ray Bradbury.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love Ray. I can't wrong Ray. Although, if I have to be really honest, technically speaking, I think the best short story person I've ever read is either Asimov or King.
Yeah. I think King too, because Asimov's, it's the big ideas with him, right?
Yeah.
And with King, for me, psychology trumps everything. I wish there was another word. But so King delves into the human condition and really makes you understand it in a loving way.
Yeah. Like in terms of, and also just in terms of technical prose, he's as clean as it gets. He's as clean as it gets. Asimov might have been better, but Asimov was a little bit more formulaic than he was until
interesting take.
I love Asimov, I really do, but I have to give King his due. It's
Bradbury's lovely.
No, Bradbury's magic. Mm-hmm. Ray Bradbury's the kind of guy who's like, hey, listen, I saw this really wondrous thing, and you have to see it, and he takes you on this ride, and when you get out of those 6 or 8 pages, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like that, and so that's my fanboy. That is always going to be like my inner fanboy for probably the rest of my days.
I probably feel that way about Neil Gaiman too.
Here's the thing. I know Gaiman's good. It's not a question for me. Mm-hmm. But after reading Ray Bradbury, it's like, you're good, but
American Gods and The Ocean at the End of the Lane, or the Road, or whatever. Those were amazing.
So for me, salmon wrapped novels, neverwhere. I really dug those from him, and from his shorts. I love the one about the cat that defends his family from the devil every night. That one's
I don't know if I've read it.
That one's amazing, but that's me. But again, he's good. He's like I'm not, but he just doesn't quite do it for me the same way. And this is just personal taste, right? Right.
And I love what our own Canadian writers are doing. And so just recently I read Kelly Robson's The Lucky Peach.
Yep.
And I love what she's doing, the way she weaves generational relationships in with trying to recover a world that has been destroyed by climate change and bringing it back. But it's about the people existing in that setting. And then a real delightful book. I was quite surprised at how James Allen Gardner, has just come out with, last year, and then there's a follow-up, with all those explosions were somebody else's fault.
I've heard a lot of good things, but I haven't touched this stuff yet.
I would strongly recommend it because it starts off and I think, oh, this is a delightful romp, and then I got sucked in big time.
Yeah.
And it has something, I swear, for everyone. And there's layers and depth, and there's fun. And it covers a lot of ground, and it's rich and it's fun. And of course, it's written with that extraordinary deftness that Jim invariably shows with his writing. So it's a joy. I love Jim's writing anyway. And
so you got a chance to really have fun and eat it too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think we do have a pretty decent interview. What do you think?
You think we have what?
A decent interview. What do you think?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you feel good about it?
No, sure.
Good.
I love talking about everything under the sun.
Good luck tonight. I hope I hope so. I hope good things for you, regardless
for
whether
you too.
Yeah.
But it's okay because we're all there together. I just can't think about it because I hate competition and confrontation.
But
we could all get that.
But okay, so I've mentioned this on a few podcasts, so you may know this story already.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't put myself in any list of eligibilities. Yeah, and I started got in.
Gorgeous feeling.
Yeah, so I don't really see it as competition. Do you know what I actually wanted to do for the summer? I wanted to interview as many Aurora finalists as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they were going against me, I didn't care, right? Because it's not okay. The fact that I got this means that now it gives me whether I win or don't, I have credibility now I did not have before.
I'm a nominee.
Yeah, I'm a nominee. Yeah, right. If I get a trophy, cool. But if I don't, that's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
What matters is what I do with it. Everything's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't matter whether I actually win or don't. What really matters is, okay, I took this opportunity to introduce myself to the Romantic Writers Association of Alberta, which was a huge. I took this opportunity to actually interview even more people that I never had access to before. I got bolder. I got the opportunity to, again.
Hey, my goodness, I don't suck.
That too. Right? So look at it like this. You also had it's an opportunity, and whether you win or you don't, there'll be another time.
Yeah.
Right.
And besides, I've got to keep writing stories that are even better. That's the whole thing.
And that's the whole point.
And
I think this is what we're gonna do. Since you don't quite have, when you have a short story collection completely ready to go, whether would Hayden publish that, or would you do that somewhere else?
I have no idea because I haven't got the weight of work yet that I would consider adequate. Of course, Hayden says that if I were a painter, with paintings in the Louvre, I'd sneak in after dark to try and fix them.
Yes,
so I don't have a strong sense, but I have stories that I consider quite good, and when I have a sufficient number that I consider to be mature, then I would maybe seek to do an anthology.
I somehow see it like an old record style cover for your stuff. That's okay. So that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
But so why don't we do this then? Talk about your current short story that's going up when this airs, and when this airs, we'll figure out something to do for an image, and then talk about how people can find you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not just on Facebook and stuff like that. Which current short story?
The one you're nominated.
Okay, that's out. That's in Some of Us.
Okay.
And that's a lovely anthology, Laxa Media, Lucas Law, Susan Forrest.
Yes.
Susan was just here. And then there's a new one coming up called Over the Rainbow that Derek Newman Style edited. And it's retold fairy tales. I usually write science fiction, but I wrote a story for that because it seemed a marvelous challenge. Yeah. And that's going to come out in November. So I have stories coming out all over.
Awesome.
I have one in Wild Musette, one of my older ones. I've got one in, I can't say yet because it's not out yet.
Okay, so I have blah, 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 blah.
You name it. Lots of. So they're out there.
Just Facebook, or do you have Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
No, I'm just Facebook.
Okay, not a problem.
I spend quite enough time on that. That should be good writing, so.
It's true. It isn't drugs. Anyway. And that was my conversation with Liz Trenholm. She has a number of short stories available in various publications and stuff. You should definitely check her out wherever she does that. Although I'm hoping someday I do get that novel from her. She is an incredibly gifted author, and you should definitely check her out wherever her stuff is. Really cool. Liz, you are welcome back here anytime you want. It was awesome having you. And that will do it for another episode of Just Joshing. Now, if you want to support the podcast, you can do this a number of different ways. For starters, you can subscribe to it. Podomatic, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. You can subscribe to this podcast. All of those ways, and it will be valid. Number one. Number two, I have 3 books currently out: The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and Wandering God. You can get them courtesy of MirrorWorldPublishing.com. Go to their website. You can order the books there. Go to Amazon, Kobo, wherever books are made electronically, brick and mortar. You can definitely pick up my book if you do. Or if you listen to the podcast, if you like anything I'm doing, leave comments and reviews. If you like it, if you don't like it, I'll understand if you don't tell anybody. But if you don't like it, still put them down there. Everything is good. That would be awesome. Beyond all that, I have a YouTube channel, Josh Penteloresco. Definitely check it out. New stuff's coming up there, maybe as early as tonight, actually. And beyond all that, stay inspired. Thank you for listening. And hopefully sometime soon, I will see you again. All right? Take care of yourselves.
Josh.